Hello, everyone. I'm David, and I'm a TI, and I'm here with Joe. And he has a YouTube channel with evidence and stuff, and his YouTube is named Unaverage Joe 4. He's been targeted overtly since 2020, and he kind of thinks he might have been targeted for life. So anyway, Joe, I really appreciate your bravery, and for obvious reasons, some people have to keep their face private. I'll let him tell you why he does that, why he's doing it, and everything. And any TI should understand that if somebody wants to keep their face private. So, anyway, Joe, what was your life like before targeting, and what is it like now?
So just real quick, why I won't show my face is part of my employment is I used to work at Los Alamos National Laboratory and I used to have a security clearance. So for that
Right,
reason, I won't be showing my face.
understandable.
But um, before targeting, I pretty much had like the average life, grew up with my family. Now, whether fortunately or unfortunately, I had a broken home. So I had a father and a stepmother. And I mean, life was still, I guess as good as it could be. And it just wasn't until 2020 where things just turned radically for me. And I suddenly started to see that I was alone more and more to the point where I am now, where I'm completely isolated. I don't have contact with family anymore. And like, for example, yesterday, Thanksgiving, I didn't hear a single word from any family member. And that's fine because it just really shows me who the real ones are now.
Right. Do you think that was due to smear campaigns about you or something?
I have my suspicions, and yes, I really believe that's probably the number one thing. It was some sort of smear campaign. They or with now that we know how AI works, uh, I've always kind of even had this in the back of my head that maybe they even had audio or video of me doing something, and that might have convinced the people or family members just enough to the point where they could believe it and decide to turn against me. I have
Yeah,
no,
'cause-
I have no other explanation. It's just, but it is obvious that all my family members have turned against
right. And friends?
me. Nah, zero. Don't really have any friends. I
Oh,
have
your
acquaintance. I
whole
have a.
life you never had much friends?
Oh, I mean, like, yeah. Okay, so growing up, yeah, I definitely had friends. High school, maintained some of these friends after high school. We still hung out for a few years, and it's just is that just kind of was like the situation of life. People just kind of go
Yeah.
in their own directions. So that wasn't really part of the targeting as far as me kind of just losing some of my friends in that
Do you
regard.
know why you're targeted?
I have some really good suspicions, but I couldn't say 100%. I think that's the $1 million question every TI has.
Right.
Why am I targeted?
Well, I'm gonna
But
just
go ahead.
sit
Yeah.
back and let you kind of explain any talking points you had in your head you wanted to talk about,
Okay.
and then I'll ask questions from there if that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'll just get right into this. It initially all started off like actually when I got back from Peru. I had gone down to Peru in 2018, and I went down there for spiritual reasons. I was in the jungle down there drinking the brew, and anyways, when I came back, I just was in a very heightened state of awareness, and one of the very first things that I encountered was when I got back to my mother's place up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. There was one day when I was in the house completely alone, and I was watching something on YouTube. I don't recall what it was, but it was something funny. I recall I was in a great mood, But then suddenly, out of nowhere, I was overwhelmingly covered with this blanket of emotions. I just suddenly felt like I didn't belong there at the house, and I wasn't wanted there at the house. I didn't feel good, and it was just it's super bizarre, this feeling that I was getting, and so I kind of felt like maybe I was picking up, some residual energy or something in the house. So I figured I should just leave for a bit, and so I
Did the
left.
blanket of energy, did it go all the way down to like a gut feeling?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
man. Yeah,
I know
that's
that
why I had
feeling.
to. That's why I had to get out of the house because I just wasn't feeling good anymore. But once I left, everything was cool. Everything was fine. Once my mom got back home from work and everything was cool, everything was fine. Everything was fine again. Nothing happened at all anymore since then until like 2019. Um, I had just lost a job that I had just gotten. I was there for 10 months. And even at that job was kind of weird. I'll just touch on that real briefly because that was kind of weird. I had just acquired this new job with this really cool supervisor, or so I thought. She was really fun. She was really just a neat person to be around. And it wasn't until this one day she walked over to my office and she wanted to start talking to me about how she was molested by her uncle. Now, when that occurred, I stopped her right there and I was like, hey, I was like, "Ah, that's not appropriate. That's not appropriate for the office. I don't want that here in my workspace. I don't even want to talk about that." So she stormed off pissed to her office because I didn't want to, talk about that with her.
Right.
And then after that occurred, I just was, just getting some weird vibes. I just started getting like, this unwelcomed feeling in the workplace. And let's just say one thing led to another. And because I was still under what they call the probationary period of employment, right? It wasn't a full year yet. In New Mexico, New Mexico is considered an at-will state, which means for any reason or no reason at all, they can release an employee. They can just get rid of you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But after a year, then it gets really, a lot more progressively harder to try to fire an employee. There's got to be really good reason. But, anyways, so he came up with this excuse, which was I was creating hostile work environment, which was the furthest thing from the truth. It was just only her and I in the office and one other guy, and I didn't even talk to him. So it didn't make sense. It was farce. Her little report was farce. So I left that job, and when I left that day, what I experienced was people flashing their brights at me, people honking their horns at me, and people waving at me that I did not know.
Wow.
And I found that really bizarre, but I didn't, think anything of it as far as like, targeting, gang stalking. That hadn't even entered my mind yet. I wasn't even aware of those terms. And so keep in mind, this is 2019. Um, so then after all that occurred, um, I went ahead and started looking for employment again. And then I found a job, state government, where I'm at right now. And when I acquired this job, well, I had moved out from my mom's place, and I was living up in Santa Fe now, New Mexico. And I started experiencing some weird stuff there, such as um, people would park out on the road. Um, and as soon as I would look out the window to see who was parked out there, they would leave. But when they would leave, they would slam the gas. It was always slamming the gas, right? So they'd kind of peel out
Right.
or spin the tires. Um, so that kind of was a common occurrence. I didn't think much of it. I still didn't even know what that was about. It didn't bother me. I was just like, these people are just weird. Um, but then it started progressing where in 2020, I was one day at the store, right, grocery store, and I seen this couple, this man and a woman. And they just stood out because they had really a really unusual look to them. They still looked like, they were dressed like in professional business attire, but it looked like from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And and they were very pale skinned. I remember that, and they had like those sunken in eyes, and they were just giving me this really weird look. And this was at the Trader Joe's. So once I was done shopping, I left and I went to the Sprouts grocery to get some other items from that place. And as I'm in there walking around getting my items, I get that feeling, right? Like it's like eyes are on me. And
Yeah.
when I turn around, guess who's there? That same
Same
couple.
two people.
The same two people, man. And they're not doing anything. They're just standing there staring at me.
Wow.
They don't got a shopping cart. They don't got a basket, nothing. They're just standing around. So at that point, I just kind of hurried up what I was grabbing, and I went to the red cash register. And then I started talking to the cash register lady, and I pointed out that couple to her. And I told her that they followed me from Trader Joe's. And when I told her that, she was like, "Oh, that is weird." And she turned around to look at them. Once she looked at them, then they turned around and started trying to like, blend in. Um, so at that point, I was already starting to get on edge with that couple and having that little experience right there. After that, it started progressing to where I was just being followed by cars,
Did you
and
ever see that couple again?
never. It was
Wow.
just that one time. It was just that one time. But then I just started getting all these cars that would follow me, and then at the last minute, right, they would always turn off, which is part of the plausible deniability, right? Oh, we're turning off here, but it was like they would follow me turn for turn everywhere until I would get to my destination. Then it would make it seem like they were going somewhere else. So that started freaking me out a little bit.
Now, was it the same
Um,
cars every day sometimes?
no, always different cars, always different cars. But let me put a little caveat in there. I was in the military, okay, so I do have pretty good observational skills. I am pretty keen to my surroundings.
Right.
So with that said, I pick up on patterns. Let's just put it that way. I pick up on patterns and odd stuff behaviors quickly, and I can pick up on that right away when cars are following me.
Did you ever see any weird license plates trying to send you messages? Like,
So now,
like
not
I've seen one.
beforehand.
I was getting hit with dudes one day, and I was in traffic, and I said, this car cut us off, and the license plate said, "Damn, it's hot." Uh, Holly seen one that said "morgue" on it. I mean, different ones. I don't know if you've ever seen anything like that.
So once my targeting became overt, and then they have more of your attention, that's when I started noticing that. And yeah, the vanity plates too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I started seeing those a lot, and they started flooding me. And I can't really remember specifically any ones that stood out to me, but I do, yeah, for sure recall the plates. They do. They send out the plates. And then, well, for me, what I would have get is a ton of grossly expired plates. I'm talking plates from like 2009, 2008, 2010,
Wow.
and we're in the 2020s, man. It's like, how are you driving around with plates that old
And getting away with it.
and getting away with it, and with one headlight or no brake lights? It's yeah, it's like it's weird. Um, but yeah, man. So after like I started, noticing all these cars and whatnot, well, I just started getting online and looking up on YouTube videos about being followed and am I under surveillance, and then one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was watching gang stalking videos, and then I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going through. This has to be it. And then I started reading more literature about it, and there was no doubt at that point that this is what I was experiencing. And so now I know more of the terms, and so I can like without a doubt say that I've been subjected to the neuro linguistic programming at different places that I frequent, and that's some pretty weird shit. You just got to ignore these people. At a certain point, you just have to like put a switch on in your head to ignore them.
Right.
Um, And once you
Do
go,
you recall any certain instances of the NLP being done on you?
okay, so this one in particular, I was at a store, and so the current job I have right now is it's not really secretarial per se, but I have a desk job,
Right.
and I walked into the what was O'Reilly's Auto Parts to go turn in some recycled oil because I don't trust taking my car to oil, places for oil changes. I do my own oil change,
Exactly.
and yep. And so I went to go turn in my oil, and I should have known better because I've experienced this there before. But this one stood out. There was a heavy set man right at the desk, just waiting there. And as soon as I walked in, then he starts telling the people behind the desk, he's like, "Oh, he's all, yeah, man. I don't know about those guys that got those secretary jobs. They're usually pretty big wussies, but he said with the P, you know."
Yeah.
And and so I kind of like just it took me back a little, but I didn't give him a reaction, but I knew what was going on. I knew what was going on. So because then once I left, and plus when he said that, the people behind the desk they all had that smirk, and there's just you can tell when people are in on it, they all have that smirk on their face.
Yep.
Is that what do they call that duper's delight, right?
Yeah. And he was letting you know he knew your job and everything.
Yeah, yep, yep. Just throwing those hints out. Um, so let's see what else. So the brightening, I've gotten lots of the brightening. I've gotten followed by cops. Um, Surprisingly, not really pulled over very, very frequently, but I do get these moments where I'll get to like these intersections and then it's all cops at the intersection. Um, and so like, and this was like a lot of these experiences are happening before I got a dash cam. And I'll tell you the reason I got a dash cam. So I started experiencing for a short moment cars playing chicken with me on the road. And it wasn't until after the third time that I said, okay, that's it. I'm gonna have to buy a dash cam to prove this because I was getting sick of driving around just holding my phone in my hand, like never knowing when to expect these people to play their stupid games. So I bought a dash cam, and that's been a godsend ever since because I've been able to catch the majority of all my targeting and all the suspicious, weird things that I experience will all be on my channel with most of my dash cam videos. Um, I will say this though, there's been some times where I've experienced my dash cam not operating correctly,
Yeah.
and that's gotta be sabotaged. I'm actually on my third dash cam right now. And luckily it's been getting warranted. Uh, every time they mess with it, it's within that warranty range. So it's been good. I've been blessed in that sense. But not in the sense of me being able to capture some really good footage. And one of the really good ones that I wasn't able to capture recently was there was this car that was tailgating me, and I ain't gonna lie, I don't let these people pressure me. I fight back, so I brake checked him. He didn't like it, but they kept him back. They kept him back there. He kept his distance. But then when he had the opportunity to pass me, he threw a coke at my right at my car, on at the front windshield. It didn't crack or nothing, but the coke busted and it just coke all over the vehicle.
Wow.
Um, did my dash cam catch that? It should have, but when I went to go load it to YouTube, the file was what's the word? It was corrupted.
Yeah.
It wasn't opening. So
Wow.
go figure that, right?
Exactly.
Um, and that would have been great evidence because I have the rear and the front footage.
Yeah.
Um,
We got one of them cameras too. Yeah.
yeah, dude, those are a lifesaver. Those are a lifesaver. Just make sure you always have your micro your I'm sorry your memory card. Make sure you always have your SD card in there because sometimes I forget mine. When I take it out to load videos, and then I go out driving and I forget to put it in, and it's like, oh man. And that's when
Right.
you'll experience some good stuff too. Well, not good stuff, but I mean, good stuff to put on YouTube. Good footage that's like irrefutable, things that people can't deny. And I have
Exactly.
and I have stuff like that on my channel. I have some things on there that you cannot deny. That's just
And I
really
will
real.
drop the link to his channel in the description if anybody watching wants to check his channel out.
Thanks, David. Appreciate that. Really
No
appreciate
problem.
that. All right. So let me fast forward to like kind of like my situation at work now. So at where I'm at right now, everything started off pretty good, right? In 2020. That's when I got hired right in the middle of the pandemic. So I was my first year of work was all Zoom, which worked out great for me. Um, it wasn't until I got into the office in 2021, in June 2021, they let us back in, and that's when I met my supervisor face to face. Well, let's just say person to person. Well, I met him face to face every day on Zoom. um, but once we were in person, I started experiencing weird things. Um, Number one, he would now this might not necessarily be because of the targeting per se, but something I experienced really weird with this supervisor was he would stare at my crotch when I would go ask for help at his desk.
Right.
So he would be sitting, I'd be standing, at his desk, but he'd be looking at my crotch, and it was so unsettling, so uncomfortable. Um, And I actually turned him in recently for that. And so he's being investigated. Um, but I experienced sabotage at my workplace. Things in my office were being messed with, and it didn't take long for me to catch on that it was my coworker. And let's just say, things one thing led to another to the point where let's just say now that coworker and I are no longer in the same office area. They have him in a separate part of the building because I reported him. But even at that, things didn't go anywhere because my supervisor was containing everything at his level. Nothing was ever getting turned into HR. So that's why things just always kept happening and kept happening. And when I say happening, I'm talking like, for example, one day I went into my office to go pick up my stand up walk desk, and when I was raising it up, some of the screws came out, and the platform for holding the keyboard fell down. And that platform's pretty heavy, medium. What's that called? Medium density fiberboard.
Yeah.
So it's heavy, and it came crashing down and almost smashed my toe. If it would have, I know it would have damaged my toe pretty bad. Um, that experience that like actually four separate times I experienced that, and it wasn't until I asked for a key to my office where I could lock my office that it stopped. You know what I'm saying? So it was pretty obvious at that point, that people were going into my office or messing with it, with things in my office. Some of my other equipment was not working right. I had to buy new or ask for new equipment. Um, but once I got my key to the office, it relieved that situation right away. No more sabotage. Um, so then let's see. Fast forward to now. I had to file a grievance actually against my supervisor. Um, he actually did a racist comment towards me, which was kind of bizarre. Um, I was just done with I had just finished some work, and this work that I was
Just
working
hey,
on,
just if you can, try not to say whatever the racist word is because they'll flag it.
gotcha,
Yeah, YouTube's
gotcha.
getting ridiculous.
No, I hear you on that one. I hear you on that. Um, well, I'll be verbatim of what he said, but it's not it shouldn't set off anything.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see why. So and just to keep the just a little hindsight, I am Hispanic of Hispanic origin. So you'll see why with this comment, the comment that he said, how I felt offended by it. Um, I had just finished a bunch of work that was talking about different clubs, sewing club, 4-H club, cooking club, that type of stuff. And when I put my work that was on the desk for the librarians to pick up, the supervisor walks by and he says, "Hey, you could have been a part of the Bean Club."
Wow.
And yeah, so exactly right. Just add an ER to that, and you know exactly what he
Oh
was
yeah.
implying. What he was implying.
He's lucky you didn't
Um,
slap the taste out of his mouth.
well, yeah, no hands. There's a no hands policy there, man.
Right.
but I turned him in. You know, I turned him in because, like, I mean, there's other little comments he made here and there, but the main reason I turned him in is because you know I had audio recording of it, so there's no way he can deny what he said, and I turned him in, you know, because there's other things that he's done and getting away with that are just not right. But to be expected, I guess, when you're a TI, right? I mean, wherever you, I mean, I'm blessed that I have a job in one sense, but I'm cursed in the regard that I'm every day, I'm always dealing with something, man. It's always workplace mobbing because it's not necessarily just my direct coworkers. There's other people that work in the building, and these other people are, you know, they play games. They play games.
Right.
They'll sync up with me. Like right when I'm walking out of the restroom, they're walking in. Or they'll be women will be having really loud conversations at the restroom door while I'm in the restroom, and they'll laugh like hyenas. And then as soon as I'm done, they're nowhere to be found outside. They're gone.
Right.
Just weird stuff like that, man. You know, it's a but it's just random. It's always random stuff at work. Uh, Most recently, this is really bizarre. So we have like this public restroom, and it's got like 10 stalls. Well, I went in there to go use the restroom, and as I was in there, somebody walked in, and whoever this person was that walked in, he had a very raspy voice. Um, and he was talking to somebody on his phone. Whatever he was talking about, I couldn't quite make out, but because of his raspiness in his voice, it was hard to make out what he was saying. But my vibes, my vibe meter was going off. I didn't like this person. I didn't like his vibe. So I stayed in the stall, and I noticed this guy wasn't doing anything. This guy wasn't doing anything. He was just staying there in the stall. He was already off the phone, and something just wasn't sitting right with me. And then keep in mind that same morning I had just experienced some pretty funky road rage. And there's a video that should be like one of my new videos. It's called Morning Madness,
Right.
and that's I just posted it, so it's really fresh. Um, so that same day, I thought maybe possibly that guy was in the restroom waiting for me, maybe, or some other situation. But here's what happened. Before I was done with the restroom, we're using the restroom. I decided to turn on my phone and turn on the video recorder, right? And I just put it in my pocket. And as soon as I did that, the guy immediately exited the restroom.
Wow.
I hadn't even, gotten the tissue paper or nothing. All I had done was just hit the record, and my phone's on mute. It doesn't even make the noise or nothing. It just,
Yeah.
as soon as I hit the record, the guy was out of there. He was done. He was out. So, I turned my phone off, did my business, and I was out of there. And no guy in the lobby, nobody around. It was just weird. But I will say this: in my targeting, I've experienced quite a few people that just have this evil vibe about them, and I would go as far as to say that we are dealing with some demonic entities or people that are harboring demonic entities inside of them, and that's only because of some of the weird things that I've experienced. Um, and if I can just real quick, man, I'm gonna just go back into time real quick. This was also during my targeting when it was over. For a very short moment of time, like 6 months, um, I had to move in with a family member, and I'm just gonna put it out there, man. I was living with my grandmother. She let me move back in. I was lucky to able to move in there with her, and my aunt was living there with her as well. My aunt was taking care of her, and my aunt played a lot of games with me. I have no doubt my aunt was a part of the program. Um, in particular, what she would love to do was do the dishes at 12 o'clock at night. And there was times where she wouldn't even finish the dishes because she was redoing the same dishes over and over and over. And it was just a, sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Um, well, anyways, this one particular time, I took out my Bible. It wasn't my Bible. I took out my phone and I looked up exorcism prayers because I had just had it, man. I had had it with her pulling this stupid stunt and me losing sleep. So I got up, I turned on the little lamp, and I got my phone on, and got the exorcism prayers, and I got one that I liked, and so I started reading it. And when I got to the part where I gotta say the person's name that you're exorcising, I said my aunt's name, and right when I did that, the weirdest thing happened. And keep in mind, the doors are closed. And I'm saying the prayer silently. In the kitchen, my aunt just yells out, "Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up." And then she marches off to her room and closes the door.
Are you serious?
Dead serious, man.
Wow, I believe you. I mean, I've seen crazy stuff, so I mean, wow, that's awesome.
Um, yeah, yeah, there's power in the words, man. There's power in God's words for sure. Um, I've experienced also some weird stuff with my grandmother. Um, I mean, let's just put it this way. Evil spirits will use anybody and anybody around you if they can.
Now,
And
now, would you say you would have to be in the same vicinity when you say that prayer as the person?
I guess if you wanted to see the immediate reaction or know if there's going to be a reaction, then yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
If you remember that prayer or find it, please send it to me in the email.
Okay, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I
Um,
believe in that stuff, and I watched a good thing with Sean. I forgot his name anyway. He had this dude on here that uh performed that stuff, and by the end of it, I was like, okay, there's no way he's making this stuff up. You know, you can tell when something's scripted or when somebody's just telling stories, that they've
hmm
experienced. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely, man. And I think one of the best examples of that I've seen was this movie called Nefarious.
Okay,
Really good
I've heard
movie.
of it. I have to check it out.
Yeah, it's great. It's pretty good.
Oh
And then
yeah,
of
anybody
course,
who has Netflix, there's a new show
oh, that's
called
right.
The Madness. If you want to see a perfect example of targeting, look at what that guy goes through in The Madness. It's only 8 episodes and it's a complete series.
Yep. And you know what? If I was able to just recommend three movies that I feel sum up targeting, I would say it's like a combination of The Matrix, The Truman Show, and Fallen.
Wow, okay.
Those three together, like watch those three back to back,
An
and
enemy of the
man, that's
state.
oh yeah, Enemy of the State with Will Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one too. And actually, just recently, I seen this other movie. It's got some pretty obvious elements of gang stalking in there. It's called Hypnotic with Ben Affleck.
All right,
Uh,
I'll try to see it. Control Factors kind of a B-rated one too about tar. It's hard to get. It's hard to get find, but it's really a B-rated movie, but it shows like they try to make this dude go kill people and all this stuff, and it's another thing of like a Manchurian Candidate type situation.
totally. And you know what? I just want to put this out there real quick because you just reminded me of something. One of my previous jobs, again, state government. This would have been back in 2017 or 2018. This was right before I left to go to Peru. Um, we had a fire drill, okay, and it was just a practice fire drill. And I went out to the muster point, and I was there. I was just there standing by myself, right?
Hmm.
some other guy that works in the same building comes up right up to me. And keep in mind, I was already being, picked on at this workplace. I was already, going through some mobbing, but I didn't know that's what it was at the time. The guy walks right up to me and he says, "You're gonna be the next active, you know what, right?"
Yeah.
Um, and I was just taken back by that. I was like, "What in the world is?" I mean, I had never ever thought about ever even doing such a thing. That had never crossed my mind that I even wanted to do that to my coworkers where I was being picked on. But
Right.
why did this guy go out there and say that? You know what I'm saying? And that's because that's like planting the seed.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's bizarre how that works. And I just want to say I believe truly, I'd say like 90, I would say like 95% of all the people that have been active pew
Yeah.
pewers, I would say most of them have all been TIs. And they just didn't know it. Or if they weren't TIs, they were being subjected to this technology, some of this technology, the V2K, uh, or maybe even some of the dream technology, because that's another thing too. I've had some weird dreams, man. And I think a lot of TIs talk about that too, right? Having really weird dreams where it feels like your dreams are being manipulated.
Yep. Did you
I've
ever experience
experienced.
direct energy weapons or V2K attacks?
So, good question. Good question, man. I've experienced the V2K and the do attack. So let me get into that. So when I was living up in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I was this one particular day doing some meditation, and in the middle of the meditation, this woman's voice came on clear as day inside of my head, and she said, "Hello, Joseph." That's my name. At the moment, where at the time, I thought maybe I had made contact possibly with an entity or something. So I was meditating after all, so I didn't make much of it. But it only happened just that one time. So then fast forward when I was living at my grandmother's place for that short moment. Um, I was laying in bed over there one time, and I had just crossed my legs in bed. At that very moment that I crossed my legs in bed, again, clear as day, this man's voice, a very distinct man's voice, came on in my head, and it said, "Look, he just crossed his legs." And that was it. Now, as far as the V2K goes, it being really obvious like that, I've never had it since then. No more. No more. Um, as far as the dues go, I believe I have been hit with those because there's been times when I'm just sitting at my desk, my arm will just swing up out of the blue, like something picked it up and made it like jerk. I've had these involuntary little twitches that go on throughout different parts of my body, also on my eyeball, which really is freaking annoying when it happens on the eye. Um, I've experienced like the little sensations of like feels like a spider crawling on me, and then when I check that area of my body, there's nothing there.
Right.
Um, I've experienced where I feel like I'm being like something just poked me like a little needle, and there's nothing there. There's no insect. I don't have a sticker, or I don't have like a splinter, nothing like that. No little small cut, nothing. No paper cut, nothing. It's just I get this little prick on my skin real quick. I've had that on various places throughout my
Does it
body,
itch
but
real bad after it happens?
no, I can't really say that I get the itch. I can't really say I get itches. But lately, what I've been getting, which is kind of odd because I've never experienced this before, I've been getting that pricking sensation on my toes lately, which is kind of weird. Um, Something I wanted to also mention when I'm laying in bed, there's been times where I feel like I get these shocks to my head, and I'll just jump right out of bed. There's been a few times where I get like this extreme redness on my eye, and it feels like I got grit in my eye, or like a bunch of dirt, but there's nothing. I don't got no eyelash, and there's nothing in there.
I don't know if you
That
can see this right here. I got these eye drops 5 days ago. The dews dry my eyes out so bad and make me feel like they're sleeping my eyes constantly and itch. Look at
Okay,
all
I
how
got you.
5 days ago, look how much I went through.
Ooh. No, I hear you, man. I have drops myself too, and I do. I go through them. I go through them. I get a bit of a dry eye.
Feels so good when you put them in.
Um, Man. So like now, where I'm living now, man, I just get a lot of like the regular street theater, people parking outside of the house, people that'll or the noise campaigns, they'll hit the gas right in front of where I live and then speed off. Um,
Do they mess with your phones and your computers and stuff?
uh, can't really say I've experienced that too frequently. Although yes, I have. Such as one time I turned on my computer and out of the blue, the computer was showing 1996. Why would
Wow.
it be showing 1996? Like, what made it reset to go to that time?
Right.
You
I
know,
remember listening to
that
this
makes no
story.
sense.
In 2018, I was in Baton Rouge homeless, right? And I advise all targets to always write down all your contacts on a piece of paper.
Mm.
Keep 2 copies of it, write down the numbers and all that. I watched them factory reset my phone remotely. I'm looking at my phone and it just factory resets on its own. It was a
Something.
straight talk phone. Don't know how they done it, but they did it.
No, yeah, I haven't experienced anything quite like that.
Right. I
That's
was
pretty
going through some
extreme.
heavy targeting in
Whoa.
2018.
Gee, I hope nobody has to go through that. That's pretty intense
So
right
I,
there.
I advise everybody always write your contacts down just in case something like that happens. Because once I done that, I was screwed for a while until, didn't remember passwords or nothing.
No, that's some good advice, man. I'll definitely take heed on that.
I don't know if
Um,
they could only do that in 20. I'm sure they could do it now too, but it was a cheap straight talk phone, like a $26 phone. But yeah, that was crazy.
um, here's what I wanted to mention. So just recently, like within the last couple weeks, I experienced a truck, what I felt like was a truck trying to go head on with me.
Wow.
And I have the footage. You'll see it on there. Or it's like towards the top of my channel. And I called the cops and told them everything. And because I followed the guy, I had to get a plate. I wanted to get his plate because it was such a damn close call. And well, anyways, the dispatch operator told me, well, go to the gas station and meet the cops over there. Because if you keep following this person, you might incite road rage and whatnot. So I followed the orders and I went to the gas station and met with the cops over there. And the crazy thing was, like, I don't even know what the point was of meeting up with the cops because all they did was get there, watch the footage, and then ask me, do you have any questions? And I just said, yeah, are you guys going to follow up with me on this or what's going to happen to him? And then the cop just proceeded to look at me and said, no, we're not going to follow up with you. And we'll make contact with him. Do you have any other questions? And then at that point, I knew it was futile. So I just said, nope, no other questions. So they left.
Wow.
They left. And then, well, here's what's interesting. Check this out. And this part I didn't post in my video, and I probably should have. I probably should have posted this. But that now I found this kind of weird. So now I was still kind of worked up a little. I'm not gonna lie, I was still a little on edge when I was there at the gas station and reporting all that stuff to the cops. Well, they drove off to the side of the gas station, out of view. And at that point, I called a friend, or actually a TI, another TI who lives in my state, who I just
Yeah.
recently got acquainted with within the past 30 days. And I contacted her. I told her what just happened. So she guided me through a little breathing session and to try to get myself centered again and whatnot. And so we that went on, and then we talked a little bit, and I started calming down. And then I told her, I was like, well, I haven't seen the sheriffs leave yet, and this and that. And I said, well, I'm actually about to get going, I said, and whatnot. And she's like, okay. And right when we were ending the conversation, the sheriffs pull up, and then they take off and leave. And when I told her that, I said, hey, well, that's odd. We're ending the conversation right now, and they're leaving. It's that I feels like if they were listening to us. And then she said, well, look at your phone real quick. Go into your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and look what you have in there. And I looked in there real quick. Well, they were still, at the exit. And
Yeah.
sure enough, what did it pull up? It pulled up Rio Arriba County Sheriff's Office under the Wi-Fi section. So I wouldn't doubt it if they're driving around like that. They probably got the technology. What is that, Pegasus, where they can hijack your phone calls?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a chance that was going on because I just found that so odd that as I'm ending the conversation, there they are leaving right at that very moment. But after that, dude, it was uh, it's just like you never know what to expect, really, with this targeting. You just don't know what's gonna be happening next. They want you to be on your toes. Um, I don't know, man. It's a roller coaster ride. That's all I can say for sure. This is a damn roller coaster ride. And the best thing we can do is just try to get as educated as possible regarding the different tactics that they use on us. Um, I mean, I'm not sure what else you wanna ask me, man. I mean, there's probably some things I'm missing out. If you ask specific questions, you might spark another memory that might go
Okay.
off into something else.
Just real quick, if you're going through this and you feel like, well, I always try to do this once every few months on my channel. If you're going through this and you feel like, well, I'm fixing to go show everybody and what's up and make an example and get some light shed on this, and you're trying to do it with an act of violence, I do not recommend that at all.
No,
And because it don't do nothing but make us look bad. Or if somebody knows a TI, it makes people freak out and all that, and then it just makes the TI community as a whole look bad because it puts, you know, then more than likely they've did a smear campaign on you saying you're that crazy anyway, so it's going to make the smear campaign look even more real. And I just wanted to bring up Myron May because
oh,
he thought,
mm,
he did 3 videos in a row, and you could
mm,
tell in the videos what he already had something planned. He thought he was going to bring light to it, and they didn't even acknowledge his
mm,
videos or anything on the news when he went and done what he did. So
mm.
I don't advise anybody to go pull any act of violence unless you're defending yourself truly. Don't let nobody beat you up or anything. But yeah, don't just go out and do that because it's just not worth it. So do you uh how
You
do you,
know what?
what's ways
Go
you
ahead.
cope with this?
So, well, for one, I'm pretty isolated. So, I mean, I do spend a lot of time indoors. I spend a lot of time indoors. Um, and there's a lot of times where I'll just kind of like binge on YouTube, um,
Yeah.
whether it's things that are spiritual or it's documentaries. I'm kind of already over the stage of watching all the educational videos about the gangstalking and whatnot. So now I watch more of just the testimonials, just to see what other people are going through and to see how similar it is to what I'm going through or things that I'm experiencing.
Would you call
Um,
yourself a spiritual person?
absolutely, absolutely, 100%.
If you don't mind me asking,
Not religious. Go
that
ahead.
brew you were talking about, was that DMT?
It was, yeah, it was the ayahuasca. It was the ayahuasca.
Oh, cool.
Um, I mean, and the original, check this out. The original reason I went down there was because of this. Um,
Right.
no, 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 not the gang stalking. Something that I'm going to explain right now. When I was working over at Los Alamos at the laboratory, something. I mean, while I was working there is when my spiritual awakening started to occur. So I think they got rid of me, to be honest, out from there in Los Alamos. They set me up to get out of there. At the time that I was there, what I experienced was my thyroid going out of whack. And when I went to the doctor, and the reason I went to the doctor was because I lost like 25, 35 pounds like really quickly. And doctor checked me out and told me, "Hey man, you got hyperthyroidism."
I've got that too.
Well, I had hyperthyroidism. Check this out.
Do you know what that's
Um,
from, don't you? Your thyroid absorbs radiation.
radiation.
Right?
Yeah,
Huh?
exactly, radiation. And I think there was a project that they gave me that was hot. That's the term they use over there. When something has a lot of radiation on it, they call it hot. I think they gave me a hot item to work on, and that's what gave me this dose of radiation, right? So check this out. Um, the doctor told me, well, okay, I'm gonna get you on this medication, and you got to take this pill once a day for the rest of your life. And that kind of freaked me out, man. I'm not gonna lie, it freaked me out when
Was
he
it
when he said,
Synthroid?
I I don't remember the name of it, man. It's such a long time ago. Because this
Yeah,
was like
because
back in
I
two.
take that lavoxithiron. The thing is called Synthroid.
I remember something roid at the end. I just don't remember what the beginning was.
Yeah, it's probably that. That's one of the most. And then Holly had her thyroid removed and she had thyroid cancer and she actually had it removed last year. And the doctor said, "Were you around heavy radiation somewhere?" And of course, she gets attacked with weapons. So
Well, that's crazy you say that because my sister had thyroid cancer.
wow,
Huh. But my sister's not a TI.
right. But I know a
um,
lot of TIs who are having thyroid problems right now.
huh. Well, check this out, man. I After the doctor told me that, it freaked me out and it put me on a search to find another alternative medicine, like an alternative cure. And one thing led to another, and I was suddenly found myself out there in Peru seeking healing for my thyroid. Uh, Long story short, when I came back to the States and I got service on my phone and I was going through my voicemails, the doctor was one of the voicemails, and he's like, "Mr. Valdez, quit taking your thyroid medication. Your blood test has come back negative. Do come back though in 6 weeks for a follow up, and then another 3 months, and then another 6 months after that, and then I just followed up with my blood test and whatnot, and I was fine.
Wow.
My thyroid healed, I guess. um, so that is what started me on this my spiritual journey because I had a heck of an experience out there in Peru, and then I've been out there a few other subsequent times, and um all I can say is the ayahuasca. It's not for everybody. I will say that it's not for everybody.
Did you leave your
You
body for 15 minutes?
Yes, I did experience what they call the little death or la pequeña muerte. Um, it's where you experience this short moment in time of where you feel like you have died, and I did. I actually my body was just radiating with all this intense energy, and I didn't feel good, and I thought I literally was going to die out there in this little hut in Peru. I
Wow.
literally thought I was going to die. Um, and I kept resisting the feeling of death. And the more I resisted, the worse the feeling got in my body. I finally got to like this point of realization or surrender. I got to this point of surrender and I said, okay, I accept you, death. I'm not going to fight this no more. And if this is where I got to die, this is where I'm dying. I'm dying in Peru. I accept you. Once I did
Wow.
that, once I did that, I was shot out of my body. And next thing I remember, I was in the cosmos. I was in the cosmos, man. I was in space. I was just this energy out there. I didn't remember my name. I couldn't remember my identity or what I looked like. I couldn't remember who I was. I just knew I was this energy out in space, out in like I said, man, it was so bizarre, so surreal. And I had never felt so blissful and so euphoric in my life before. And the strange part was, even though I didn't know who I mean, I couldn't remember who I was or anything. I had no fear, and
Right.
I had no problem with this new state of being that I was. Just this energy out in the cosmos.
Wow. Now, when you go to them huts, do you like when you pay to do that, do you also pay for like protection for people watching out for you like while you're doing it?
Oh, so you don't gotta. Okay, when you go to these places, usually they already have it's all incorporated into the package. Like. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, they'll have the locals that are from there stand guard with shotguns. Usually, a lot of them have because they
Okay,
don't know.
yeah, yeah, because you know
Yeah,
you're out of it, anybody could do anything.
yeah, exactly, exactly. No, no, yeah. Well, then you got to do your homework too. Of course, do your homework before going to one of these places and make sure they got a good reputation. Um,
Right.
because with we know they call it the ayahuasca tourism. I mean, there's a lot of stories of women being taken advantage of. I'll just put it that way: women taking advantage of over there at those retreats.
So would you say it's
And
best to do it and do it at your home?
no, not at all. Not at all. It's not something you can facilitate at your home unless
Right,
you're
okay.
very, very, very well versed with psychedelics and you know what you're doing.
Oh, so you have
Because
people there for like if you have a bad trip or something that will help you?
exactly,
Oh, okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do not recommend this as a little recreational thing or even as a slight little spiritual thing. No, if you're gonna do this, do it the right way and do it with somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who can guide you. Um, yeah, that's not something to play with. Absolutely not. This is the real deal.
Right.
But you know what? As we were talking, I just something came back into my memory that I wanted to share because this was something super, super bizarre. So,
Okay.
because hey, man, with this program, we know that the more bizarre the story, the more true it is too. Because it's like you can't
Yeah.
make it up. You can't make it up.
And you know,
Um,
everybody get don't feel bad. Everybody gets like this in interviews where certain stuff pops up, and you
mhm.
know, and there's even times I'll be talking on and interviewing people, and stuff I had forgot for a long time just pops in my head.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's when I'm watching other people's testimonials, it'll spark a memory in my mind, and then I'll go right into my notes again, something I forgot.
Yeah.
So and that's another thing I recommend all TIs do: start a log book or a diary, something to that means. Put something in there that's a record of what you're going through and what you're experiencing. Put the date and details, everything. So here's what I want to share. I was at my current job that I'm at right now, and when I was driving to work and just getting there, into the parking lot, I would see this red Volvo parked there, and it had one of the windows was busted out, and the person was just parked there to be sleeping. Okay. Now I've seen this red Volvo station wagon, a handful of times there at this job that I work at, there in Santa Fe. Now, fast forward to another job that I ended up getting on the weekend, which I still have. I have a little weekend gig at Amazon, right? A little warehouse job. And this Amazon warehouse job is like 35 miles away from my other job. Totally, totally different locations. And so get this. There's one day I go to my Amazon job. And as I'm getting over there, well, on the way to that warehouse, there's some properties on the right hand side that belong to the city. And some of these are just vacant lots. They just put like overflow vehicles where extra trash cans and stuff like that in there. Well, lo and behold, as I'm on my way to Amazon this one day and I look to my right, that exact red Volvo station wagon was parked in that vacant lot.
Wow.
How in the world is that possible? You know what I'm saying? It's so obvious what was going on. Um, and these are two totally different counties. So,
Right.
and And then here's the other thing: when the Volvo was at that vacant lot, the Volvo was crashed in the front end. But that just still didn't make any sense. Why was this particular Volvo that I had already, recorded, taken footage of, which is it's somewhere in
It
my
was the same car
lineup
both
of
times,
videos,
right?
same license plate, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
I
I
want to stop real
actually,
quick and say, so when TIs are describing stuff and they say they see the same car, they've done their homework. They're sure it's
yep,
the same car. So
because I
any
got it. I have
thoughts?
the
You
videos.
might be getting, well, it may be no. If a TI said they see the same car, they've done their homework.
It's in my videos, David. And so there's nobody that can refute it.
Right.
It's in my videos. It's just down. It's way down in there. You got to find it, but you'll see it if it's in there.
Oh, I
I mean,
believe you.
um, let's see what else. I for some reason they have this like little theme of red and blue going on. Uh, and I keep experiencing that every now and then, but it just that doesn't phase me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like I've gotten to this point now where like the color mobbing doesn't bother me, the one headlight doesn't bother me. I acknowledge them. I know what's going on, but it just doesn't get to me no more because I already see through all the BS, right?
Yeah,
And
see,
once you
they
get
do
one,
that. They do that because later on they'll stop using color tactics altogether, and you'll be so sensitized to it that you'll react to every time you see one of them colors. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, no, totally, totally, totally. Um, but see, that's where you gotta do the work, right? That's where you gotta do the work and do your introspecting,
Right,
meditating, and
because
go. Yeah.
some people, I've scratched my nose talking on one of my videos or a couple of them, and people be like, "Oh, you scratched your nose." No, you're just sensitized to people scratching your nose from perps doing this to
Mm-hmm.
you. So now every time
Mm-hmm.
you see that, you associate it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's called sensitization.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, my parents, though, let me touch on this real quick, man. My dad and my stepmother. Uh, so I posted a video recently, within the past 60 days or so, of how I feel like my parents have sold me out. And
Hmm.
all I can say is, man, there's like almost there's not like a worse feeling than feeling betrayed by your own family. But at least when that happens, your eyes are opened up to this world, like fully opened up, and you realize that family's not what you think it is at the end of the day. So what you really need to do is you got to go by your heart. You just got to go with your heart and go with the vibe that you feel with people around you. Like you said earlier too, you got to give people a chance. And that's where I need to. That's what I need to start doing is giving people a chance now. Other people besides family, right? Because I'm at this place now where, yeah, I am questioning everybody and everyone. Um, but it's like, hey, if I'm a TI and I'm going through this, well, there's still got to be a few people out there like us. We're a good handful with good hearts, and we're bound to bump into them every now and then. And just got to keep that open heart. Just got to keep that open heart space, right?
Yeah, I remember I was walking. I thought I was walking. For some reason, I had fell asleep, and I don't know what it was, but my I still think it was poison ivy. So I woke up with it on my face. So I'm walking across this long 3 mile bridge, or however long it is in Pensacola to Pensacola Beach, and I was going to throw salt water in my face. You know what I'm saying? And just go immerse my whole face in the ocean. And this car stopped from Massachusetts. I'll never forget it. And she said, "You look like you're having a bad day." And she handed me $80, and I was like, "Wow, blessing came out of nowhere." So yeah, there are still good people out there. Now take it, she was from Massachusetts, so she probably hadn't got the smear campaign yet, but oh, but I walked the 3 mile bridge, and there's not much room to walk on the bridge. So she probably was like, "Wow, this dude's having a rough day."
um, you know, as far as like why I feel like I could be gang stalked, man. Um, I just want to throw this out there real quick. I've had my suspicions on what I thought it could be, and I think like it could be these three possible outcomes. I feel like it's either number one, it could be because of my time working at Los Alamos and me having my spiritual awakening going on over there and realizing what how I was contributing to society with the type of job that I had. Not like I was ever gonna expose anything or say anything about that place because yeah, I value my freedom.
Right.
Um, Number two, I've always suspected it could be possibly because of my internet history with just all the stuff I've looked at. And
Yeah.
I've always and I truly feel like, and and I think it's already been put out there, but I this is what I felt before this was even being put out there, that there was, some sort of program software that would flag individuals based off of their internet history, right? And then that would make you a person of interest, and then depending on
Yeah. Snowden talked
how
about that.
see, and it's so weird because in my gut, I had already felt all these things before they were being exposed.
Right.
Um, and then the third reason why I think I could possibly be in this program is because, and it's just a small little story. I was out on a family camping trip, and I actually think I have this video on my feed as well, um, or on my channel. But I was on a family camping trip, and that's all I thought it was going to be, family camping trip. Well, that Friday afternoon, people started showing up to the campground that I did not recognize. Turned out they were friends of my father and my uncle, and these people started showing up, and well, before you know it, the night has already come, and there's a bonfire going, and people are partying, and I had no idea this was going to be happening. So keep in mind, there's actually a couple off-duty police officers at this outdoor party. So fast forward, my stepmother ended up a little too inebriated, and we put her into the camping trailer a little early, and then she had an accident. Right, she ended up vomiting inside the trailer, and so we had to get that cleaned up, and then my father comes also, and he's suddenly very inebriated. A couple guys are carrying him to the trailer, and I stopped him. I stopped him in his tracks, and I said, "No," I said, he shouldn't go into the camper just yet, because we were still cleaning up the mess. And I already know my father. When he's inebriated, he'll he might just lash out.
Right.
So especially with a situation like that. So I knew better, and I said, "No, he needs to be put somewhere else. Put him in his truck for now." I said, until we clean up in there. And one of the guys that was holding him up cheap shotted me. He cheap shotted me, and I don't remember anything else from here forward. So I'm gonna give you the account based off of what my brother and his girlfriend said. Well, his wife now, they're married. They said after the guy punched me, I was dazed for a couple seconds, but once I got my bearings, I punched the guy back. I dropped him to the ground. I got on top of him and just started wailing on him. I don't remember doing any of this. I blacked out apparently.
Right.
At this point, a couple guys came and got me, arm in arm, took me off of him, and this is where I get my bearings back, or my recollection of memory is two guys now carrying me away from the campsite, and they just drop me into the dirt, and then they take off running back to the campsite because all this drama is breaking out. And while that happens, I run around to the outside perimeter of the camp, where it's dark, nobody can see me, and I go to my vehicle and I get my gun, my pistol. I bring it out and I have it there in front of me, and then someone sees me there with my gun, and they're like, "He's got a gun!" So then everyone starts leaving the camp, right? Everyone that's partying.
Yeah.
Well, guess who happens to be right next to me? One of the off-duty police officers, beer in hand, and he's drinking. He's buzzed. He's buzzed, and he looks at me. I know this guy. I know him. He's well, friend of the family, well, quote unquote friend of the family, right?
Right.
Um, he looks over at me and he's like, Joe, give me the gun. And I look over at him and I said, no, you get out of here. I said, get out of here. I said, you guys are all part of the problem here tonight. And I just remember him giving me like one of the dirtiest looks I've ever received from a person, and very disappointed. He emptied out his beer bottle in front of me, just, like, and giving me that disgusted look as he emptied it out, and then just walked away real calmly to his car and drove off, drunk or, buzzed.
Right.
And so I've always suspected that the reason my family sold me out is because they ended up taking the side of that officer and feeling like maybe I was a danger to society because of that whole situation. When in reality, I was just trying to protect me and my family, and the situation just got out of
Was that an
control.
officer you punched?
No, it wasn't. No, he wasn't. The guy I punched
Or
was
did he
not
have,
was not an
you think he
officer.
was a gang member or had any connections to anybody high up?
No, no. I mean, well, he might have been friends with one of the officers, possibly, possibly.
Right. Because officers can get you targeted. People high up and that's got the right connections can get you targeted. You know,
Hmm.
yeah. So it's very plausible.
Yeah, that's been like that's my number one guess right there. Why I am targeted, but like when I go back in hindsight and look throughout my life, man, like I've just experienced a lot of weird stuff. Like for example, once I got my job at Los Alamos, right? I had a security clearance there. Now, I never got harassed or anything, but there was weird things that I'd experienced. Like I would go to stores, a certain store, and there would be nobody there. It'd be me only arriving. But then within a minute or two, now the store's hopping. It's busy. There's everybody there. It's like a crowd of people.
Right.
Um, but I wasn't being harassed, I wasn't being followed. It just felt like, maybe they were keeping tabs at times, if anything. Because I'd experience that every now and then. I'd go to places and there's just nobody there, but then suddenly there's a bunch of people there. Um, just also like maybe the strange coincidences, like people that you would meet with like the same name, like you keep meeting people with the same name. Like that's just kind of weird. That just stands out to me. Um, but like for a clear example of that one, I had gone to the discount tire store to go get my tires, and this guy goes to the desk, and his name is Arturo. So now keep in mind, now this is weird. This same guy that is at the discount tire store named Arturo, I had seen him before where I go hiking. And the weird thing was where I go hiking, he wasn't even hiking. He was just there sitting in the parking lot waiting on his street bike, just waiting there, right? So
Yeah.
I recognized the guy. I already recognized the dude. So it was obvious that he wasn't even there hiking. He was just there waiting for me at that hiking place, and then he would take off. But then fast forward, yeah, then that's when I seen him at the discount tire store, and then I learned his name was Arturo. So then fast forward to that weekend, I go fishing up to this mountain lake, and I meet this guy. This guy comes and meets me because I was the first one there fishing. And this guy shows up and he introduces himself as what? Arturo.
Wow.
So it's like, come on.
Is that
It's
a
like,
popular name?
no, not over here in New Mexico. I
Right.
mean, it's very seldom you run into a person named Arturo.
Exactly. I ain't never met nobody named that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, maybe you might meet an Arthur every now and then, but an Arturo? No.
Right. So
um,
I got one more question
yeah, go for it.
and we'll be done. Uh, is there a message or anything you would like to say to my viewers today as far as targeting or any tips you'd like to add?
the main thing I want to add is just don't discount people that you hear talking about the targeting. Hear them out. At least hear them out for a little bit until you can determine for yourself with your own discernment if this person is, telling the truth or not. Um, so just don't be so quick to judge. Okay, yeah, you might be missing out on a great opportunity, such as a great friendship with somebody. I've been able to meet people online so far that I'm still talking to this day. 2, 3 years later, and they're also TIs, and so that's kind of the best way that you're gonna have some kind of like friendship or some type of community is to reach out to people in the comments, or even me myself. I'll give you my email. We can talk. Um, and then don't give up hope. Don't give up. And as hard as it seems at times, just don't give up. It's I know it's easier said than done. I've experienced some crazy stuff like my brake reservoir being drained. I could have given up, but I didn't. I still go to work every day. It's just it's something I push myself to keep doing. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, but you gotta just maintain that spirit inside of you that says, "Hey, you're not today, Satan. You're not playing games with me. You're not gonna take me out." And then, if anything, lastly, just try to just stay true to who you are. Try to keep who you are alive inside your heart. If you're still this person who likes to collect certain items, well, collect those things. Don't let these people stop you. You still want to go fishing, go do your fishing. Don't let them stop you. I mean, it's hard to do it in the face of adversity, but you still got to do it regardless of what's going on. You have to still live your life. Don't lose hope. I would also recommend if you want, and if you're feeling, if you feel it in your spirit, pick up the Bible and read it. You might experience some sleep spells, and if you do, well, then you're on the right track. I went through that. I started reading my Bible, and I would get these sleep spells, and it's very obvious you're being attacked. When you start experiencing that kind of stuff, it's real. You'll see for yourself if you do pick up a Bible. Um, and then just lastly, just don't give up. Just don't give up on life. I think, and don't give up on hope. Um, I'm remaining hopeful, regardless of what anyone else says. That I think this program's about to get exposed. I really do, and we might not get the outcome that we absolutely want. But hey, if it ends, it ends. That's good enough for me. Um,
Right.
but let's just keep our spirits up and don't give up. And that's as much as I can really share at the moment.
Yeah, and I will put his YouTube link in the description. And one thing before we end, I think this whole grid has been set up, and there's a lot of people sick going to doctors and don't even understand it's Wi-Fi,
Mm-hmm.
5G, all kinds
Mm-hmm.
of radiation. The grid's been set to slow kill us, and also don't like he said. I really think one of the parts of the program, I really think this is like a Luciferian agenda or you know, to take love out of the world. So don't never let them take that spark of love. I went through a year or
Mm-hmm.
two of straight bitterness. I hated
Right.
everything, everybody. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
trust nobody. They took the love out of me. And I had to find
Mm-hmm.
that and get it back and realize what they were doing because I'm a very lovable person when I want to
Mm-hmm.
be. And but don't never let them kill that spark of love inside you. Um, but anyway,
That's
if we're done, I'm going to end this, Joe, and we'll say our goodbyes. I really appreciate your bravery. Um, and I hope things get better. And who knows, maybe 6 or 7 months down the road, please email me and we can do a follow up and you can tell everybody what's changed, what's going on now, or so be it. You know what I'm saying? And please
absolutely.
email me that prayer, when you get time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I will.
All right. Well, thank you again. And I'm going to stop the recording right now.